Hi, and welcome back to the Sales Growth Showcase, where we share insights from today's top sales leaders so that you can make more money and be better connected to your customers. I am joined today by Ali Saeed. Ali, welcome to the show. Why don't you briefly tell us who you are and how you impact others?
Sure. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it. So my name's Ali, and I actually work for the Calico Group, which is a supply chain and logistics company that's focused on the ancillary cannabis space. And my responsibilities here are to run and manage the enterprise side of the organization.
Thank you so much. No doubt with the industry, the cannabis industry being really blooming, if you will. First time you ever heard that pun, right. I'm sure. There is lots of insights that you have to share about things that you and your clients are doing to grow sales. So let's talk about that. Here we are sort of emerging from a very difficult time in the sales industry. So what are you and your teams now focused on in order to grow sales?
Yeah, I mean, the cannabis industry is interesting, especially from a vendor and supply chain management perspective. And so if you think about cannabis companies, they're not getting support or packaging, let's say, from the folks that are supplying Coke and Pepsi. It's more or less a little bit of a sort of schizophrenic approach where you're going to work with a vendor, and in the back of your mind, these large publicly traded clients, for example, they're thinking about how they can kind of check the box on one thing or check the box on another thing. So the way that we are actually growing sales is really to be able to be a full holistic supplier of all of their packaging needs, as well as hardware and vaporizer needs as well. So we have a global supply chain network that includes North America, East Asia, and a few other places around the world. So what we're really doing is trying to be that holistic organization that shortens the vendor list for a lot of these companies, so they don't have 10 different vendors for 10 different products. They can come to Calico and say, you know what, if we want a glass jar, if we want a Mylar bag, if we need a vaporizer, if we need a battery, we have one place that we can go. And then the other way that we really try to grow and solidify our client portfolio is just being able to provide service. We call it a 5-star level of service across all of our clients, and try to do the things that a lot of the other vendors are not doing, such as reporting, availability, and then also being able to visit in person. And as you mentioned, coming out of the pandemic, that's also starting to become a little bit more important.
So I'd love to build on that. The fact that your goal is to provide that 5-star service to your customer, but over a year now, it's been impossible to be there face to face with your customers. So tell us a little bit more about that challenge, and what are some of the things that you do in order to be able to continue giving that 5-star service?
Sure. Yeah. I think the obvious answer is, we've leaned a little bit more on technology, such as kind of what we're doing here today. That's the obvious answer. But to be honest with you, I think one of the things that was challenging is, how do you connect with people when 2020 was a year where, people were afraid to travel, they were not allowed to travel, et cetera. We know all those things. So the challenge is, how do you connect with people? And I think that what I've realized is there's a little bit of a wall that came down between, let's call it, clients and, the folks that are selling to them. In our case, we are a supplier or a vendor. So that wall coming down allows you to kind of take a little bit more of a chance, or a little bit more of a, approach, which can be, I guess, what I call less cliche. And what I mean by that is texting, and actually trying to find out on a personal level what the folks are that you are selling to, and how they kind of live their lives outside of work. And so I think that the pandemic has really, put a spotlight on those things and made it a little bit more personal. We were just on a sales team call, and we were doing a round table, and the question was, what do you do to prep before you get on a call or a video call with a client? And my answer was, research and find out if there's something that you have a commonality with between you and the person that you're on the phone or on video with. And so I think, coming back to what I said earlier around the wall being brought down, if you can make that connection point, you sort of go over that line and are able to make it less about the fact that, it's a business transaction, but actually you're showing value around the fact that, well, you're interested in their life, or you're interested in some of their things that they do, or you have some commonality. So I think that is something which is a challenge. And if you can overcome that, you really open the door to a lot of opportunities.
That's great. That it certainly has given us the opportunity to get to know our customers and our clients in a new way. Often we are seeing them in a very personal setting, with them being in their homes more often than not. And if we can find those connections, exactly what you're saying, and be able to, in a genuine way, be able to use that to build a better relationship. I love that insight of looking for those little personal moments. So, so that's both the challenge and the opportunity that you talked about. How about another opportunity, or another key area of opportunity that you see as part of the way the sales industry has changed lately?
I think another opportunity now, to be honest with you, is who's going to raise their hand and be the next to, I don't want to call it walk the plank, but rather, go out and actually start traveling and visiting clients. So the culture at Calico is to be face-to-face and in front of clients. So, as I mentioned prior, we had to kind of change our sort of focus and mentality. But now that we're coming out of the pandemic, I think the opportunity is wide open in front of us. In fact, I've been doing, some traveling to various cities where we have clients, and a few of our, largest cannabis clients, some publicly traded. Essentially, I think it shows that you're willing to take that extra step, and it kind of allows them to understand that you consider it a true partnership, and you want to be in front of them and continue to build the relationship as we did in the past, face to face. And so stepping back into that culture and being able to do those things, I think merits a lot of confidence in the fact that, you're willing to get on an airplane and get back to sort of business as usual, which I think a lot of people are craving, to be honest with you. We're seeing it right now as we're kind of just getting into summer here. People are, booking vacations, people are on vacation. And as I've been flying, I've seen more and more people. In fact, the flights are pretty much full. So I know that people want to get back to business. And I think that is a huge opportunity, which is now in front of us as we're coming out of the pandemic.
So many people are ready to get back to in person. Without question, virtual is here to stay and will also be a part of our business going forward. But there is nothing like shaking somebody's hand, sitting across the table from them, and having a face-to-face conversation.
Agreed.
You've shared some insights already. Let's imagine you are meeting somebody for the first time. They tell you that they are a new sales leader, just stepping into the role, and based on your experience, they say, Ali, what's one nugget of advice you have for me? How can I be successful? What would you share with them?
I think the thought that comes to mind is tonality. So, since my early days as an inside sales leader and outside sales leader, one thing that bridges all the gaps here is what's your tone and how are you presenting yourself? So that is very important, whether you're on the phone, whether you're on video, or whether you're in person. So the way that you, your voice inflection or your tone, or are you smiling, when you're talking to somebody, I think that those things really branch into how confident you are, how much you believe in, what you're doing in that moment. And so I think that the tonality is very important. It's a small thing, and it's a basic thing, but I think that we always need to be reminded about that. And if you approach a situation where, you're not so sure, or, your tone is less than par, if you will, I think that definitely comes out, whether it's in person or over the phone. So I think that's the nugget of advice that I would like to share. And I try to share that with my team on a regular basis, as well as, uphold that standard, so that, it's a healthy conversation and an effective conversation in whatever we're doing when, we're sitting down at the table, we're on video, or we're on the phone.
I really appreciate that. That so much of it really is some of that unspoken thing, is when we're sitting across from somebody or we're on a virtual call with somebody, it comes through whether they feel confident in what they are telling you. And so I love that, the tone of conversation, the tone that you take with your team is so important. Well, I've really appreciated our conversation. It goes by very, very quickly. I very much appreciate all the insights that you shared with us in such a short time. Undoubtedly, there are people that in your industry, your career, that you have worked with that also have some great insights that they may be willing to share with us. Is there anybody that comes to mind that I should invite on the show?
Yeah, there's a couple people that I think come to mind immediately. As I'm here in Austin, Texas. So I met them here in Austin. The first person who is still here in Austin is Gary Smythe, and he's actually a sales leader at Elastic here in Austin. And then the other person that also comes to mind is another great sales leader, and he's also part of AAISP, such as myself, but his name is Nimit Bhatt, and he is with a company called Memory Blue. And so he basically leads sales for the entire organization. So both of those guys are good friends of mine, and I think that they're effective sales leaders and definitely worth having a conversation with.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning them, and I'll look forward to reaching out and connecting with them and inviting them on the show. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
And thank you for your time. Really appreciate you taking the time to do this and share so many insights with us in such a short period of time.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
Right. And folks, thank you again for tuning in. Make sure that you subscribe to the show so that you'll be notified of upcoming episodes. And until next time, I wish you reach invincible success.